Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. And we're back here in Destiny, and I got lucky because I really wanted to do a live commentary for this last piece of Destiny Alpha, discussion before I talked about the PvP. And they decided to leave the servers up for one more day. We might get disconnected, a bunch of crazy stuff might happen, but hey, we're gonna go hop into our Titan, which is max level, and I want to talk about the more social side of Destiny as well as the sort of open world exploration aspect of it. So let's go ahead and kick it off by heading to the tower. The tower is essentially what they call the social hub. It's a safe zone. It's like a city or a town in any standard MMO. It has vendors and shopkeepers and mailbox and places to buy a new ship and all this really interesting MMO type stuff in a first-person shooter. Which is a nice combination. I think what Destiny has done is I've always talked about the fact that I've always wanted an MMO shooter. A lot of people have always wanted that to be a successful thing. And we've gotten games like Fallen Earth and just an endless pile of other stuff that just doesn't work. Because what they're trying to do is take the generic standard MMO format and then throw a first-person shooter on top of that. And that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem necessary. It's the same thing that Star Citizen is doing. They realize, okay, yes, we're going to make an MMO, but why would we do like WoW with spaceships? That's just stupid. The word MMO doesn't mean World of Warcraft, it doesn't mean that format. At least it shouldn't. But I feel that is something that has kind of been burned into gaming genre, that MMO is World of Warcraft, Rift, even WildStar. That is what we consider an MMO, but it's not, it just means massively multiplayer online. So what else can we throw into that? We can make a first-person shooter function with the idea of a massively multiplayer online. Now Destiny has done it a little bit special. If you guys aren't aware, it's not really just everyone's in one open world. It's kind of, it throws people into your world and out of your world. And the social hub sometimes, though, is filled with many, many more people, but I'm not actually sure how many people are on. But as you can see here, we're inside of the tower. Very, very gorgeous view. I really hope we can visit all of this at one point down here, because this is absolutely stunning. Truly, truly is. Of course, we can go ahead and wave at the Traveler, which is the sort of alien that has started this all. Maybe one day I'll do a video just discussing straight up what we know about the story and lore of Destiny. But as you can see here, this is the Cryptarch. We can come here to identify unidentified items that we might get. We can also purchase some unidentified items if we wanted to. But we're just, it's there. It's part of the game, the identification of items. Usually when you pick up an unidentified green, that means it's pretty good loot. That's a very, very good thing. We have bounty boards over here, so we can actually go track these different bounties. There's bounties for the Crucible, which is the PvP aspect, and there's also the single-player bounties, which are essentially challenges. So you can see here, kill 20 enemies without taking damage for them. We get some Vanguard honor, we get some experience, and there are also minimum levels for these things. Actually, we'll grab these while we're here.
Transaction complete.
Thank you. Thank you for the bounties, good robots. Now, as I said, we have the mail key. There's a mailman over there. We can actually receive mail. I mean, it's a social hub. If you play MMOs, this is very familiar to you. However, if you play first-person shooters, I guess the closest thing would be the towns that you go to inside of something like Borderlands or Borderlands 2. We can come to the gunsmith. We can buy weapons. We can, there's just, this is the place. This is where you come to do everything. You come to take a look at your new gear, your new weapons. It's all right here. Let's go take a look at the ships. So I actually did purchase a new ship. You'll notice if you saw any other gameplay or someone else's gameplay, they might have had the stock ship, or maybe they had a different ship altogether. There's quite a few ships you could actually go ahead and purchase. So there's the Quartermaster. That guy just has some gear. And then if we head up here, we have the shipwright. So we can go ahead, we can actually buy, there's new Sparrow type vehicles, and if we press triangle, the nice thing is, this is just one of those small sort of Bungie details, as I like to call it, because they managed to put a story behind every single piece of gear. So if you look at a piece of gear and you press triangle, it'll give you a tiny bit of information about it. It's often a story. The Series 22 Seeker answers the esoteric needs of elite warlocks. And you can see we actually have two abilities that would be able to unlock on this eventually. So it has, well, these are normal abilities, boost and break, so nothing special there. And then we have our different ships, which again, we can also look at. Everything can be previewed. The LRV-2 Javelin is a variant of the standard Phaeton class long-range jump ship, refurbished and rigged for dangerous flight. So, when I want to talk about the story, let me look at, because especially I have a lot of unique gear here, so if we go ahead and we take a look at, say, our Ajima Type 0 chest plate, and we go to details. A derivative of the Gatewatch pattern, Ajima armor incorporates the lessons of too many bloody stands. There's an exceptional amount of detail put into everything. And you get to notice that kind of thing when you sit in the social hub and just stare at your gear because you realize the alpha is about to come to an end like I did yesterday. The abstract etching on the interior recalls Earth's greatest fortresses. Do not admire during combat. A little bit of that Bungie humor. So one of the other cool things though about what they're doing that is something, I mean, that you recognize in the social hub is if we go right here, this is sort of a faction. The Dead Orbit. So if we approach them, we can actually earn reputation with these different factions. There's more than one, there's several actually inside of the tower. And what that'll allow us to do is we'll get Crucible marks when we play in the Crucible for some of them, which is the PvP of course. That allows us to come over here and buy special Crucible weapon and Crucible armor that we can use just in PvP. There's even shaders to change the color of our armor. This is all stuff that's earned through playing PvP. So what Destiny is doing is creating the sort of end-all be-all of FPS experiences. Okay, you want to play a single-player story game? You can do that. You don't have to have anyone ever join you if you don't want to. You want to play an open, you want to play a cooperative shooter experience with a story? You can do that too. Do you want to explore an open world in a first-person shooter? We have that. Do you want to play competitive multiplayer? We have that. You can bounce back and forth between all of these things at your own whim. So there's a lot more to do inside of the tower. We can go talk to our, our actual Titan Vanguard who can give us special Titan gear. But let's go ahead and take a look at the free roam exploration aspect of the game because this is something that I have a lot to say on. So we're going to go ahead and we'll bring up our little Ghost here, and we'll go to orbit. Now I've said in the past in the first video that yes, Destiny is a very beautiful game, but it is an exceptionally well done and detailed game. I just cannot get over the texture work in this game. It is absolutely unbelievably mind-blowing. So here's the story, the Dark Within, and we have the Devil's Lair, which was the strike mission that you guys saw in the first video I did. And then if we look around, you'll see we have all these different areas. There's King's Watch, Forgotten Shore, Skywatch, the Moth Yards, the Divide, Gateway, the Rocket Yard, Blast, and the Devil's Lair. So when we spawn in here, we can go to all of these different locations. And the map is deceivingly large because I think I've had trouble actually finding all of these places. I've been to them, but there is so much depth inside of each of these individual areas in terms of just what you can explore, the smaller hidden areas and buildings and underground passageways and caves. There is so much of it. The load times, however, can be brutally long. Actually, that was relatively quick. But we're going to a load time into another load time. We'll make it there. Now when we do hit the ground, and we start just exploring, I think that is really what is the special moment for me inside of Destiny. That mixed with the social hub, and then the strike missions are great, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're like, those first-person shooter sort of dungeon things. I love the fights, I love the AI in this game. I think the AI is very intelligent. It feels great to play against them. There's never this moment where you can sort of be lax and just sit back and shoot things. They're always trying to flank you, they're always trying to outgun you, they're always trying to do something to make sure that you are on the wrong end of their barrel. And that just makes combat always increasingly tense and difficult. So let's go hunting. So let's go ahead and bring up our Sparrow here. Of course, can summon our vehicle on the fly. And this is where I kind of want to geek out for a little moment, because as I was talking about the textures and the visuals and this wonderful snow, the sound design in Destiny is just already at a stage where I am just beyond impressed. And it's not even so much about being impressed. I think it's like, I expect the sound design to be good, but what is there makes me feel happy. It's just the sound design has a special feel to it. It feels very unique. It just feels special, I mean, that's really all I can say at the end of the day. When you think about something like Star Wars, how unforgettable the sound effects of a speeder bike or a TIE fighter or an X-Wing or, R2-D2 in Star Wars are. That's the kind of thing that I feel, with the sound effects here in Destiny. Like eventually they'll be there, it'll be this sort of nostalgia to remember what the Sparrow in Destiny sounded like, or, what a certain weapon sounded like. But as I was saying, we can just break out and go exploring. I mean, this is what I've been doing. I hit level cap on my Titan, I started a Warlock, and my brother came over and started a Hunter, but I've just been exploring, seeing where I can go, what can I see, and you're not forced to just do that. There's more going on here. We can actually go ahead and we can go to these different missions. We can stumble into other players. Looks like we got a guy right over here. Let's go see what he's up to. Into the Moth Yards. The enemies consistently respawn in the zones, so you're not just like, oh, I wiped all the enemies out, they're gone. Whoa! Wasn't expecting that. Let's get over here and deal with these guys. There's a couple guys over here, actually. But what we can actually do, what I was about to say, was you can grab missions. So there's actually these beacons out in the world that are sort of placed there, I guess you could say, by the remaining humans and their contacts to the Guardians saying, hey, you know, any available Guardians, we need help over here, we need to clear out this area, we need to kill this many enemies, and we need to claim their badges. So it's a mixture of fetch quests, just straight up combat quests, and then sometimes there's a little bit more interesting stuff thrown into it, like maybe go to a certain area, clear out some enemies there, move to another area to clear out for a, you know, another human drop point, whatever it may be. There's a decent amount of variety, but that is really the only area. You can see them marked on our map. So there's one at 278 meters, we have one over here, actually, and they are actually tagged with different icons, assuming they probably mean something different that I'm not aware of for each of the different types of missions, but this is really my only concern. Let's go grab this one over here. I'm just not sure that Bungie can put enough variety into them, but the other side of it is that at the end of the day, there's so much more going on inside of Destiny that I'm not really concerned if these end up being these sort of just kill, fetch, and, you know, maybe some more ideas thrown into them, but I just feel like Bungie can do something more with them. I feel like Bungie can make them more creative, more open. Again, this is alpha. They probably will, and I'll be proved completely wrong, which is fine by me. But let's go up into this area here. So this is actually one of the first places you go to in the story. When you play the story, you come here, and it's actually a piece of the story. But now you can return to it. You can do different missions here. I'm kind of in a low-level zone. If I wanted to push forward, I could go find a zone that is more matching with my level. There's some areas with level 9 enemies in them. There's quite a bit of variety. But out of all the things that can happen inside of this sort of exploration mode in Destiny, my favorite has to be the zone events, which maybe we'll get lucky while we're here and one will happen, I'm not actually sure. But essentially these zone events are these random events that will occur where maybe an enemy dropship flies in and drops off enemies and they start deploying some sort of a scanner array, and you have to go to each of these locations and eliminate the enemies before they establish the array. And I imagine in the future there'll be a bigger variety of these events depending on where you are in the world, and you know, just maybe in that same area you'll have multiple events. But those are sort of, for me, the experience, because you're already out, maybe you're with a group of friends, a fire team of a couple guys, you're out, all of a sudden this event comes in, 3 more people show up, maybe, you know, 6 more people show up, and then all of a sudden you're all fighting this huge event together. And as much as, you know, I understand you can play Destiny sort of alone, I think that is the special, you know, piece of the game that Bungie was going for, the ability to, whoa, it's a hive throw. The ability to, you know, interact with other players, and for some reason I just really want the community in Destiny to be like this ultra, like, you know, good community that just wants to experience things with each other, that wants to help each other go through these areas. And you know, it was interesting because I was talking about this last night in a different context about, you know, people no longer using their mic on consoles. It's a dying thing. There's just no communication, and it's just something that's completely went dead, and I would like to see more people back on the mic, you know, communicating with each other, just getting involved in having these good moments with random people. It's all fun to hop into a game and play with your friends, but when you can, you know, at the end of the day, come back and say, hey, remember the other night we were playing Destiny and we teamed up with those 3 random dudes, they were, you know, those 3 random girls, whoever it might have been, as a group of people, and we went out and we just, you know, we killed that spider tank with them, or we killed that, you know, that elite guy, you know, we finally dropped him. That was a good time. That was memorable. I think that's the kind of thing that Destiny and Bungie want to craft, and I would like to see that actually happen. I'd like to see that be something that works inside of Destiny. But when you talk about the environments and exploration, oh, these guys, I got some Hive and some Fallen fighting each other here. There's a lot to find in the world. There's logos to discover and to, you know, question, what is this? You know, what is this all about? Is this a company? You know, when am I going to know who and what this is? And I think that's the one empty space that is left open for a lot of people in Destiny, is, you know, not really knowing too much of what's going on in the universe. We still don't know a lot about the story and the characters, and we haven't really met our first sort of, you know, actual, like, story NPC who's gonna, you know, give us some guidance as to, like, what's going on, an actual person with a face. You know, we have Ghost, and I think Ghost is actually really well done. He may seem, I think, cheesy in ways, or, you know, like the voice acting is a little bit rough, but I feel it's more along the lines of making it feel like the sort of intellectual AI that, you know, has an understanding of things, but that's really not what he's about. He's still an AI, and he still looks at things in a much different light, so it's an interesting attempt, I think, what they're doing with Ghost, and I hope it ends up going well. I hope whatever direction they were trying to push with him, you know, to create this comedic AI, this sort of partnership between the player and Ghost. I hope they're successful with it because it's intrigued me. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with it. So let's see here. We made it to Skywatch, out the other side. Let's go ahead and bring up the Sparrow and just kind of jettison over here and take a look around. So, like I was saying, you know, there's quite a bit here. And what seems like a small area, there's a lot here. Now, at the end of the day, I don't know how large, you know, the zones are going to be. I mean, we still have the moon. There's still a couple other locations that we'll be able to explore when the game goes live, or, you know, maybe whatever they'll throw at us in public. And the public beta will come July, but I think they exceeded my expectations for the size of these areas and, you know, what we're going to have in these different locations, because for some, I was expecting, just to be honest, a lot more of an instance feel, I guess you could say. Nothing like that Titan ability. Very satisfying. And I was surprised with how large everything actually was, how large the areas were, so I would like to be even more surprised in finding out that there's much, much larger zones with even more to explore. But I found, you know, hidden caves that I could only get to by launching off the wings of broken planes, and the environments themselves, again, are just, they're breathtaking, you know? It's like, yes, I enjoy looking at this, and it also is nice to see that that's actually looks done, you know? I'm looking down there not as if it's just some backdrop. It seems like, okay, I could probably go there at some point in time. In fact, is that the shipyards over there? I don't actually know. Could be.
Nice work.
I just completed some sort of a challenge and was not aware of it, but if you still have your PlayStation 4 on and you still have the Destiny Alpha installed, it seems to be going for one more day. They've extended it, maybe even a couple more. Again, they said they're testing things, so everything could crash and go terribly wrong, but if you want to get a little bit more of a Destiny fix in, now is the time to do that before the end of the day's up, before they finally take it down, and then we'll have just one more month until the beta goes live on the PlayStation 4, and I think it's the following week that it'll be going live on the Xbox 360, or the Xbox One then, so not too much longer before we can get our hands on Destiny once again, and then just a few more months until we can finally step into the world of Destiny, make our own Guardian, and truly seek out what secrets Destiny holds. If you guys have any questions about Destiny, or, you know, my thoughts on any further things that you'd like me to discuss, feel free. Basically what I'm going to start doing is once I post these videos and I see that they'll go live, I'll hang out in the comments for a little bit so I can respond to you guys, and then I'll sort of head off. I find myself, you know, commenting like sporadically throughout the day, which I don't mind, but I'd rather kind of be there right after I drop the video, see what you guys have to say, and then, you know, go back to doing work or whatever I have to do. So let me know in the comment section below, guys. I'm going to continue to see if I can find some new locations before the Destiny Alpha drops, and I'll see you guys in the next one.